The scream echoed through the marble halls like a siren. A young nanny stumbled backward, clutching her arm where tiny teeth had sunk deep into her skin. The child, barely 2 years old, stared at her with eyes too fierce for his age. And then he laughed. In that cold, perfect mansion overlooking the ocean, no nanny lasted more than a week. The baby's name was Noah Langford, son of one of the richest men in the country. To everyone else, he was an angel. But to those hired to care for him, he was something else entirely. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The Langford estate had seen 27 nannies come and go. Some left in tears. Others swore the child was cursed. Each contract ended with the same line in the report: unmanageable behavior, violent reactions. But when Amara Lewis walked through those grand gates, everything began to change. Amara wasn't like the others. She didn't wear pearls or designer shoes. She came from a quiet neighborhood where kids played in the streets and grandmothers told stories from porch swings. Her hands were steady, her voice soft, and her eyes warm but firm. The agency warned her. He bites. He scratches. He throws things. She only smiled. Then I'll teach him not to. When she first saw Noah, he was sitting on the nursery floor surrounded by expensive toys he never touched. His curls were perfect, his clothes spotless. But his tiny hands clenched into fists and his eyes, blue and cold, watched her like she was an intruder. "Hello there," Amara whispered, kneeling beside him. "I'm Amara. I'll be your friend." Noah stared for a moment. Then, with lightning speed, he lunged, biting her wrist. She didn't scream. She didn't even flinch. Instead, she gently pulled back, looked him straight in the eye, and said softly, "Is that how you say hello, baby boy?" For the first time, Noah didn't know what to do. The staff watched through the cracked nursery door, whispering, "She won't last a day. He's the devil in diapers," but hours turned to days. And something strange began to happen. Amara never raised her voice. She never punished him. When he threw food, she quietly cleaned it up. When he screamed, she hummed a lullaby so gentle it seemed to calm even the air itself. And at night, when Noah refused to sleep, she sat by his crib, whispering stories from her childhood, about storms, about bravery, about how love could quiet even the loudest thunder. Still, every night, just as her eyes began to close, she'd feel a small hand tug her sleeve. "Stay," he'd whisper. And she always did. One evening, as a storm gathered outside, Mr. Langford returned from another business trip. A man of power, always surrounded by men who said yes to everything he demanded. When he saw Amara sitting on the floor, letting his son wrap her hair around his tiny fingers, his jaw tightened. "You're paid to teach him discipline, not. Whatever this is," she stood calmly. "With all due respect, sir, your son doesn't need discipline. He needs love." The words hit harder than thunder. Nobody ever spoke to him that way. Later that night, as lightning lit up the estate, Amara woke to a sound. Soft crying. Not from the storm, from Noah's room. She rushed in and found him trembling under his blanket, whispering the same words over and over. "No more fighting, Daddy. Please, no more." Her heart broke. The next morning, she confronted the truth. The child's mother had passed when he was born. His father, consumed by grief, had buried himself in work, leaving Noah alone with strangers. Every time someone tried to touch him, he'd remembered the shouting, the slammed doors, the loneliness that came after. He wasn't born cruel. He was born forgotten. That evening, Amara did something no one else had dared to do. She picked him up, biting and all, and held him tight against her chest. "It's okay, baby," she whispered. "You don't have to be angry anymore." He kicked and screamed, but she didn't let go. And then, slowly, his small fists loosened. His breathing softened. For the first time in his life, he fell asleep in someone's arms. The security cameras captured it. This quiet miracle in the heart of a cold mansion. Word spread through the staff. "He's changing. He hasn't bitten anyone in days. He smiles now. Even Mr. Langford noticed. He'd returned from meetings to find Noah chasing Bubbles, giggling, his tiny hand always in Amara's. One afternoon, Mr. Langford stood by the doorway watching silently as Amara taught Noah to say please and thank you. She turned, catching his gaze. "You see?" she said softly. "He just needed someone to stay." For the first time in years, the billionaire looked small, like a man who suddenly realized how much he'd missed. But the true test came a week later. Amara was offered a higher-paying job overseas. Everyone assumed she'd take it. Noah clung to her leg, tears streaming down his face. She knelt, brushing his curls from his forehead. "What's wrong, baby?" "Don't go," he whispered, her eyes filled with tears. In that moment, she knew the answer. She turned to Mr. Langford and said, "If you'll have me, I'd like to stay, not as an employee, but as family." He nodded slowly, voice breaking for the first time. "Then, welcome home, Amara." Months later, laughter filled the halls that once echoed with cries. Noah no longer bit. He hugged, he danced, he lived, and on the day he called her mama for the first time, the entire house went silent, then erupted in applause. Even Mr. Langford wept, whispering, "Thank you," for giving him back his heart. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. Once, a baby bit everyone who tried to love him, but when love refused to let go, he learned to hold on instead. Tell me in the comments what you thought of this story, and where you're watching from. I love hearing your stories too. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this, because here on Whispered Words, every story whispers something true.